Happy Advent. So last week we did start the season of Advent. And with the start of the season of Advent, we even started a new liturgical year. As we mentioned last week, we're calling this liturgical year the Year of Communion. Throughout this year, we'll look at how, we come to Mass not just to receive communion, but to actually be in communion. We'll look at some of the saints and what they taught us about how we should come together to form a Eucharistic community. Here in Advent, we're looking at the rules that St. Benedict put together to help men and women live together in monasteries and convents. We're using this booklet by Father Dwight Longanecker, St. Benedict for Busy Parents, to help us to look at how we can apply St. Benedict's rules within our families and parish community. We'll be handing out this booklet after Mass, so be sure to pick one up. This week, we are looking at what Father Dwight calls a Holy Trinity, 3 vows that a monk would take when entering one of St. Benedict's monasteries. The vows were obedience, stability, and conversion of life. It really focuses in on that conversion of life, right? Today's gospel, we hear John the Baptist say, repent. And that's what it's about, is that our whole life is about repenting. It's about a conversion of life, that growing in holiness. And the 2 other vows of obedience and stability helped the monks to achieve that conversion of life, helped them to get into a loving community so that they could have a real change in their life, a real change towards loving the other person. The vow of obedience is not a blind obedience, right? Most of us, when we think of obedience, we think about the military or our sports team, where it certainly is important that everybody just, blindly follows what the coach, what the officer says. But that's not what St. Benedict meant by the vow of obedience. St. Benedict had more of the original definition of obedience. Obedience comes from the Latin word to listen. And that's really what's important in the obedience, is to listen to your superior. And the point of the superior, the point of the father in a family or mother in the family, of a boss at work, is to help the person that they're leading to grow. And that was really the idea, that he required his abbots to live a virtuous life and to really be concerned about the monks that they were leading. And so obedience there was for the monk to listen to what the abbot had to say and to understand why the abbot was asking him to do those things. Right at the end of the day, he needed to be obedient, and some of the times he might resist what they were doing. But that's what happens in our life, in our relationship with God, is that we need to understand what God is calling us to do. And sometimes God calls us to do things that we're not comfortable with, but we've got to be obedient. And so St. Benedict saw the vow of obedience as a way to help his monks to get into a deeper relationship with God, to really be obedient and listen to what the abbots have to say. The second vow that St. Benedict had his monks take was the vow of stability. He saw stability being so important. He made his monks promise to not leave the community, not jump around and try to keep finding that great community there. He realized that at times conflicts would happen in communities and things would happen where it would be hard to love the other people. And he wanted his monks to sit there and learn how to grow through it. In today's society, right, we join a community just for our own individual interests. And the moment that something happens, we jump to another community, right? Okay, well, it's not filling our interest, but we don't grow in love. And St. Benedict saw it so important that, in good times and in bad, that we stick with it and we try to work through it. We see that with our families. How many times do we start disregarding family members because we just have some sort of contention with them? St. Benedict would advise us to just learn how to love through that, how to forgive, and how to recognize other people's troubles, and to really focus on that stability, on staying together as a family, staying together as a community. So normally we celebrate the solemnity of the Immaculate Conception on December 8th. But since December 8th this year falls on a Sunday, the second Sunday of Advent, they've moved the celebration of the Solemnity of the Immaculate Conception to Monday. So this year, the Solemnity is not a holy day of obligation, but we still will have 3 Masses here on Monday at 8:30, noon, and 7 o'clock, and we invite you all to come and join us for the celebration of the Solemnity of the Immaculate Conception.